Bonjour everyone. Bonjour ladies. Bonjour gentlemen. Bonjour everyone who are online from different countries, because for the one who are in the room, we are also on Marcel, our Publicis Group internal platform, you all know. Thank you very much for taking the time and for being with us today. Normally, Nanette Lafont-Dufour must be with you, but she has an impediment. It happens. So this is me, Eve Magnan. I'm the Group CSR Director, leading all of our CSR activities with a brilliant team that is here and there. So we are super proud, and also we have fantastic teams in our countries, and I want to thank them because they are doing an incredible job everywhere they sit. So today it's the positive screening number 2. And it's a series that we have launched a few months ago in the context of the program NIBI, No Impact for Big Impact. And we are doing this with Picture Motion, our subsidiary that is based in LA and New York. And they have the capacity to prepare, launch, accompany many documentaries across many subjects. And of course, sustainability is one of the key topics that they are addressing. So we have established a partnership together across the group and the subsidiary. And this is the reason why today we are going to share with you the first episode of a brief history of the future, sorry. And after the video, we are going to have a session with Ari Wallace, who was producer of the film, Catherine Murdoch also, who support the entire project, which is incredible. And of course, Vincent Le Goff from Ushuaïa TV from France, who has already distributed this series of documentaries online. And for you who are in the room and who are online today, this video is one of 6, and we are going to put on Marcel the 6th video for you to have the time to look at them. So I think it's time to start. I wish you a good moment with a brief history of the future.
For the first time in human history, we are now grappling with a set of issues, a set of decisions that we have to make that will have long-term consequences for Homo sapiens, for our species, and for this planet. If we want to think about where we might be able to go tomorrow, what could happen, and what do we want to see happen, it's important for us to be able to kind of look back and see ourselves as part of something much larger. If we really want to move forward, we have to be curious about what those different forwards and those futures could look like.
Nous avons quelques minutes d'avance
We're in the ancient
sur ceux qui sont en ligne, donc on attend. Inviter Vincent à me rejoindre. And we are going to start the conversation in English for the ones who are online via Marcel. Vincent, please, sharing the floor with you. And thank you very much, Catherine. You are from New York, if I'm right.
Yes.
And you, Ari, you are also in New York, correct?
I am correct.
Okay. So thank you very much. Thank you both to spend this time with us today. Ari, an immense, a big thank you for what you have done with all of these series and the 6 documentaries. So I really encourage all of the people today who are listening to us, or even the ones who are going to be on replay, to really take the time. And if you have the opportunity to sit with members of your families. So Ari, a huge thank you for what you have done. And now, if you all agree, we are going to go a little bit deeper on some questions that we may have. First, Ari, I would like to introduce, as you said, you are a futurist. Maybe you will define a little bit later what is a futurist. You are the founder of the Long Path Lab, which is a platform that maybe you are going to say a few words also, and you are totally dedicated to try to bridge and to build some connection across the different worlds to see what's visible. Catherine, we are super proud to have you with us today. Thank you so much for your time, because you are an Emmy Award. Maybe people don't know you, but I want to say it. And you are also the president of Quadrivium, and you will perhaps tell us a little bit later what's that. And you are also going certainly to tell us what Futuristic is doing, because it's super impressive. Vincent, thank you very much for being with us today in Paris. Vincent, so you are in charge of the content and programming for Ushuaia. That is a subsidiary, Ushuaia TV, sorry. That is a subsidiary of Groupe TF1, which is a large media company listed in France about TV. Your role is crucial, because this is you are shaping the content of your TV, and you will certainly tell us a little bit about what you want to do and how you want to contribute on this future society. So, Ari, I will start with you. When you start this series, do you have in mind that you will do 6 documentaries and that you will meet so many people across the globe and across cities? Because we can see in this one that you were traveling from one place to another. So, and what are you expecting by doing this? What do you want the audience to take out from your documentaries and the series?
Well, first of all, thank you for having us, and thank you for showing the show both to those who are there in person and those online. Look, A Brief History of the Future was really 6-episode arc of a story where what I wanted people to take away, the viewer specifically, was more than hope, more than anything else, was a sense of agency. Because hope obviously matters. It can lead to action, hopefully. Urgency matters, but sometimes too much urgency leads to paralysis. And so one of the things that I realized very early on, and with Catherine, who's also an executive producer of the series, is that the future is made up of obviously millions and millions of decisions that we all make every day. Some of them are small, some of them are very big. But whenever we talk about the future, more often than not, we think about it through a dystopian lens where everything has gone wrong. And that can create very powerful warnings. But when that's all that we consume and all we see are dystopias and worlds in which everything that we have in human society has fallen apart, collapse almost seems inevitable, and people start to lose that agency. But history tells us a very, very different story. Human beings have repeatedly been forced to look at problems that seem impossible. And more often than not, we have overcome them and we have a strong capacity to respond. So the idea was to travel the world and show people who understand the problems that we face but are deciding to take direct action. And through over the 6 episodes, you'll meet teachers, you'll meet people working on nuclear fusion, you'll find people who are buying land back up and developing new senses of community. So more than anything, we wanted to show that, counter to what you see in the headlines and in the news, that there are people who are working on individual projects or who have very large ideas that are actually happening. We wanted to inspire people towards action.
We have seen in this documentary number one totally different type of projects, some that are very technology intensive and other ones that are absolutely not. So, and when we see the trend of today and the technology, how do you see this evolution? Do you still be positive and optimistic for the bridge that we have seen in India?
Yeah, I mean, look, I entered this, and we'll talk about what being a futurist is in a second. Well, I'll talk about it right now. Look, being a futurist doesn't mean we predict the future. What professional futuring is meant to do is to allow folks to understand there are multiple things happening at once, very strong signals and very weak signals, but to be able to parse out what are those weak signals that we can work with to help us actually shape a future that we want. And so in traveling the world and meeting people, I was able to find folks who understand that technology in service of human flourishing is the way we want to move forward, as opposed to technology where technology flourishes is not the way we necessarily want to move forward. My argument in the show is not that everyone needs to have a 100-year plan, but to really recognize one very simple fact, which is that you have to ask yourself a simple question when you're faced with a decision, whether it's in the boardroom or the family room or the kitchen table, wherever it is. How will this decision affect people who aren't even born yet? And that small shift changes how you lead, how you invest, how you build, and specifically how you program and create technology. And our hope is in this show, and we know this is the case. We've met with people in Silicon Valley who have seen this show, and it's kind of started to rewire how they think about what it is that they build. So that definitely gives me hope.
Okay, we take hope. All we take hope. Catherine, you are the executive producer of this film. And what we need today is to learn from you, because you built the futuristic foundation. So how can you describe in a few words what you want to achieve with the futuristic initiative?
Oh, thank you so much. And we're really excited to be showing this here to this group of people. Yeah, so there's a couple of things. My foundation is called Quadrivium, and I work on a number of different topics: climate change, democracy reform, scientific understanding, etc. And out of that work, actually, I realized that across everything that I'm doing, most of the narrative that people have is about how badly everything's going to go in the future. And when I met Ari, we started talking about this show that we both were really excited to make, where we could go out and show people all the great things that are happening in the world. Because so many times I know I'm involved in many of them, and I know they exist, but most people do not. And so this was an opportunity to showcase all this work around the world that is often unsung, that is happening quietly. It doesn't make the headlines. Most of the time, people are not making movies and film about it. And so this was a real opportunity to showcase those. And we set up an organization that we call Futurific, which is a sort of portmanteau about terrific futures. It's a way to to do storytelling about better, more realistic futures or protopian futures. And the reason that we decided that that was really important was because if you look at what's out there about the future, it's largely dystopian. So anything on particularly for young people, young adult books, film, television, all of popular culture has been about terrible futures since the last time that we had a really good vision of something better happening in the future was Star Trek, and that was conceived in 1964. So it's a really long time ago. It was a very successful franchise, and it's still going. So there's clearly an appetite for it. But for some reason, all of our filmmakers and our artists and whatever are very focused on doing things that are about worse futures. And so we wanted to just balance out the ecosystem. And that's why we started Futurific.
You have pronounced protopian. So
Yes.
can you please share with us what does this mean? Because we all have heard about dystopia, dystopianic things. So, okay, what is protopian?
Protopia is a word coined by Kevin Kelly and he just wanted to show that there's a difference between it doesn't have to be utopia and it doesn't have to be dystopia. We all know what dystopia is. It's something, it's a world that's terrible. A utopia sounds like it might be good, but it actually means nowhere. And so oftentimes the utopias are too perfect and they fall in on themselves and they actually end up being dystopias as well. So neither of those things are things we want. The idea of a protopia is that it's centered on realistic progress. So it's a better future. It's a place that you and I would want to live. It's a place that we would want our children living. But it's realistic. It's a better future that's realistic, and that's what we try to show in all of the work that we're doing, both through this series, but also in fiction. And we have a number of graphic novels that are showing just different possibilities of better futures that are realistic and possible.
Yeah, realistic is the key word, to be sure that everyone can feel that they can participate in. So this is crucial. Vincent, Ushuaia TV has decided to release the series, to distribute it. Can you please clarify a little bit what is the positioning of Ushuaia TV? I said that you are in charge of the content and the programming, but perhaps you can tell us what you do with Ushuaia TV.
Yeah, of course. Ushuaia TV is a pay TV owned by TF1, as you said, by TF1 Group. It focuses on documentaries about science, wildlife, nature, environment, and conservation. And the channel promotes a solution-oriented vision of the world. It's a positive channel. We try to give the keys to the viewers to understand the challenges we face. We try to take them to action. Since its creation, like 20 years ago, the channel has followed its own path, inspiring, informing, and sparking curiosity. I think we are the only channel on the French landscape to have this 100% environmental positioning at the moment.
Okay, nothing else.
Well,
no news.
No news.
No news.
No fiction.
Okay.
And yeah, of course, we had the pleasure to show and to air a brief history of the future. We bought the series like 3 years ago. We dubbed it in French because our audience prefers French version. And we aired it the first time in 2015, and we just rerun it early June, so you can still watch it on Ushuaia TV at the moment, if you got the channel.
Cool. Thank you. Thank you very much. Ari, back to you, Ari. where we are all living in a world that is short-term driven, all of us. So whatever we do in our professional life or even personal life, we are short-term driven. Okay, what have you identified based on all of the people that you have interviewed for the series as the biggest gap that we need to close or to try to close to integrate long-term thinking?
It's a great question. The biggest gap is incentives. Almost every major institution rewards the next quarter, the next election, the next news cycle. And while that's interesting, the biggest actual challenges that we face unfold over decades. So climate change, artificial intelligence, education, demographic change, even loneliness. These are big long-term problems. They don't fit neatly into a short-term timeline. And we know intellectually that we need to think further and further ahead, but the systems that we've built reward the exact opposite. And, again, my argument isn't that everyone needs a 100-year plan. It's that everyone needs to ask themselves that very basic question, which is, based on the decision that I'm about to make, how will this impact those who are not yet born, either in the next generation or generations to come? And at the same time, we have to really start looking at how we have built institutions and incentive programs. And we get into that in the show, not enough. And hopefully we will do that in later things that we create, but really showing how the institutions themselves have to change so that they incentivize individuals, organizations, communities, and really nation states themselves to think and act long term. Because once those incentive structures are in place, we'll see people be able to make more long-term based decisions.
On incentive, I have a question for you. In all of these big problems that you are addressing in your documentaries, many organizations have tried to use the nudge system, which is a way to, exactly what you said, incentivize. However, it seems that it works very well on some simple topic, but when it's complex, suddenly it doesn't work anymore.
Yeah, I mean, I think the issue here is that we need to stop thinking small, right? The nudge makes sense in terms of, whether you're going to compost or you're going to recycle, these small things. But on these big challenges, and what I would actually argue are big actual opportunities that we have as a species on planet Earth, we need to develop incentives that work at the business level and also at the political level that go just beyond simple nudging. A lot of this comes back to storytelling, which we can talk about in a second, which is, how do we tell stories of success as opposed to collapse? Those stories themselves are actually, to use the language you're using, are actually kind of macro nudges. They're big nudges because stories gets into areas of identity. And I think that is kind of what we're missing more than anything right now.
Okay. Catherine, you are doing a lot thanks to your philanthropy programs and all of your activities. So you have a huge influence around you. What's keeping you optimistic when you see the news each morning, and certainly working with Ari on future projects, or what Futuristic is going to do in the coming years?
Yeah, well, I think the answer's in the question. Yeah, Futurific is making me optimistic. It's very helpful. I recommend it to everyone that if you work on better futures, you spend all your time somewhere where things are working, and then the challenge is to figure out how we get from here to there. And so that definitely helps keep me sane working on challenging projects and here in the United States.
A tricky question maybe for you, Catherine, because you, as you said, you are meeting many leaders from the world, from different areas, business, academic, NGOs, etc. So what is the changes that perhaps you have seen or not over the past few years? Have you seen an evolution? You are both from the US, okay? But all over the place, we know that there is a backlash on all of the sustainability topics. And when we talk here about sustainability, it's social and environmental. So have you seen, Catherine, the leaders that you are meeting on a regular basis, have you seen some changes, positive or maybe negative?
Yeah, I think there's a reason why we did the show the way that we did, you'll notice that at no point during the whole 6 hours of 6 episodes did we tell people that they were bad for doing something. We didn't scold them. Instead we showed people doing things that were better. We showed examples, and I think one of the things we learned, the way the human brain works, if you think about sports performance, and you notice that Kylian Mbappe is in episode 6,
Yeah.
and we ask him, do you think about failure? And he says, no, that's crazy. Why would I think about failure?
Never,
I visualize success. And when I visualize success, then I know what I have to do to get from here to there. And that's what we're trying to do with the show and with everything that we're doing with Futurific, is to help people visualize success, because we've lost that muscle memory. We've forgotten how to visualize success. And so that is the practice that we are in the business of helping people do right now, is thinking about how we make it better, and putting it on screen or in a book or in somewhere where people can say, I get it. I can see that. My version might be a little different, but I understand what it could be, and I want that. And this is how I'm going to change myself to get there. If you just scold people and tell them why they're wrong, and tell them how they should sacrifice themselves, they're not going to do it. And I think we've learned that pretty firmly for the last 20 years of the environmental movement that I've been a part of.
So that's the reason why everything that you are doing here, it's absolutely fantastic. Vincent, when we talk about sustainability, climate change, and all of these topics, many of them are relatively complex topics. So because you are reaching a large audience, and the largest as possible, what are the levers that you are activating to be sure that it will interest the audience and that it will be attractive?
Well, especially at the moment in France, it's quite difficult to raise awareness about environmental issues and to get a wide audience at the same time. Public broadcaster like France Télévisions, they have tried many times, special evening prime time, feature-length documentaries with very little success. So for our channel, we put a special emphasis on wonder, which is a part of our DNA, emotion, on empathy we can have for some people who are inspiring, and even on identification with these individuals who have dedicated their lives pursuing very interesting things and passion and purpose. And with so many examples over the few episodes, over the 6 episodes of the series, of course. So I really believe in role model at the moment, and we have few experience on Ushuaïa TV. The last one was few weeks ago. We produced and aired the documentary. The name was En Immersion avec, featuring Alice Belaïdi, who is a French actress who is quite committed. And she experienced free diving for the first time in Guadeloupe with a former world champion. And it was the occasion to take the attention to coral issues, plastic pollution, coastal erosion. And we benefited, of course, from her community, strong community. She activated her community, and we had a great audience that would not connect with Ushuaïa TV usually. So role model at the moment is a key point for us.
Yeah, and in this particular series, we have many role models in totally different contexts. So this is very inspiring. Ari, talking about all of these role model, and we have mentioned that you have 6 episodes, so 6 hours. It's a bit long. Do you think that we can have other format to attract, again, broader audience, different type of people that we would like to listen and to look to all of these stories?
Yeah, look, definitely. The TV show, each episode came out every Wednesday night at 9 p.m. for those who actually watch TV at a specific time. So we had very strong viewership in America because every week people kept coming back to see kind of where I went and who I was meeting and what were the stories that they were telling. That being said, that's not for every audience. So we had a very kind of robust social media campaign that was attached to this. And it wasn't a campaign just for advertising, but it was actually taking segments of the show and turning them into 2-minute clips or even 30-second clips. Now, you need to really watch big chunks of it to fully kind of understand it. But that being said, you're able to watch in 30 seconds Kylian Mbappe and myself having a conversation, and you kind of get it, right? There was one of the Instagram posts with myself and Kylian had over 20 million views. Now, that's more than watch the entire show because it's a lot easier to watch, a 60-second clip than 6 hours. And so when you are trying to bring stories like this out into the world, you have to recognize that there are people who want to watch 6 hours of this. There's also people who just want to do 30 seconds. And as Catherine said, sometimes people don't want to watch anything at all, and they want to read it as fiction, or they want to see it as a graphic novel, or they actually want to experience it in person. And so in 2028 in Basel, Switzerland, we're going to be doing kind of a World's Fair festival called Futurific Basel that will have many of the elements and stories from this show. So it won't even be on a screen. You'll actually be able to walk into the convention hall and experience these ideas and these stories in person.
Yeah, short format are really necessary today. By the way, you are talking about Kylian Mbappe. We're in the World Cup. How did you get that?
Oh, Kylian.
How are you interested in that?
Well, it's very similar to how we got a lot of the folks. We would reach out to their representatives or directly to them, and we say, look, we want to tell a different type of story about the future. We want to tell stories about what happens when we get it right. And Kylian is very focused on kind of youth empowerment, youth education, and the agency of the youth. And so it took a few phone calls to get to him and his folks. But once we explained what this show is about, that it's not just about football and it's not just about him as a global football celebrity, but it's about really how do we think about the future in a positive way using what Kylian does when he thinks about how he is going to score. Like Catherine said, he doesn't envision himself missing the goal. But that's what all of the dystopian storytelling we tell is. It's all about humans missing the goal. And so when we explained to him, we're like, Kylian, we want you to come on and have a conversation about how that doesn't work in football and therefore probably doesn't work in how we're going to solve and tackle these major issues. He was all in. And next thing you know, I was on a plane to Paris.
Catherine, what you would like to tell us as business in communication, advertising technology, by sharing and by doing what you do with Futuristic, what you would like to tell us, this audience that is here today and online particularly?
Well, I think that one of the best reviews we had was someone who told me that their friend who was going to a therapist was prescribed the show as the antidote to his anxiety.
Woo!
And I thought that was
That's great.
fantastic.
Okay.
Right now, a lot of what's out there is dystopian. What's out in like I said, in the books, in film, in TV, and definitely in the news, what you see is the worst of humanity, the worst of things that are happening. What we're trying to do here is highlight the best. What are the things we want? What are the things that are actually happening now that are great? And I think that there's just, for the media and communications industry, is really just trying to find more balance in this. I'm not saying that we don't need dystopia. Dystopias are helpful because they're warnings about what we don't want. But we also need visions of what we do want. We need to balance out the media ecosystem with things that make people feel good and make people dream about what they actually want. And this, I think, my message to certainly to the creative community has been, this is wide open creative space. It is, there's lots and lots of dystopias, and frankly, AI can make you a dystopia in 3 seconds. But protopias are still really new. There's not very many. I mentioned Star Trek. You could argue about Wakanda and Black Panther being a protopia. There's not enough training data. And so if you want to go out there and make creative product, protopias is a really big space to be working in. And so I think it is both a good thing to do for yourself, for your own mental health. It's good for your kids because really our young people are feeling very depressed about the future. So it's good for you, it's good for your kids, and I think you can make money.
Yeah, of course, you're right. Moving to you, Vincent, we discussed with Ari about the format. Catherine said that effectively all of these type of documentaries is much better than going to see your psychoanalyst or whoever you want. Okay, on your side, you said that Ushuaia TV has been created 20 years ago. So now you have experience and you can see what was a success. How do you see the future? What do you have in your pocket for the next coming year or so, or the documentary where you can give us some teaser, perhaps?
Well, first of all, I think that public debate is very divided at the moment in France, and science is challenged. We have fake news everywhere. So I think we have to create spaces where people can better understand each other, with a special focus on knowledge and education, but while being entertaining. And I think we have new storytelling techniques that can resonate with younger audience. So content still matters, but we have not to forget that for the younger audience, the device matters also, and even more. So we have to build a real connection with the younger audience. I think we have to move toward immersive, interactive content, and to focus on collaboration, community, and lived experience. Really, that's what we're trying to do on the future.
Yeah.
Now, on a very short term, we will show, for example, in December for the World Climate Day, feature-length documentary called France Once Upon a Time Tomorrow.
Okay. Oh, big program.
Yeah, it's a visually compelling documentary about France in 2100. And
okay.
the way, for example, rising sea level will affect landscape in Normandy or Pas-de-Calais, the way we will live with increasing aridity in the south of France, how we can rethink the mobility and, globally speaking, our cities like Marseille or Paris. So it really resonates with a brief history of the future. It's just a visually quite amazing documentary.
Yeah, because we have people in the audience today who will be there.
Hopefully. hopefully.
100.
So that's
yeah.
a few example of what we
Okay,
do.
so now we would like to open the floor to questions in the room or questions online, because you have the capacity to write questions. Maybe I can start with what I have online. So there is a question that I'm going to ask you all three. So let's start with Catherine, ladies first. What are the most excited moments that you have during this long journey to produce this series? What was the most for you personally, Catherine?
Honestly, it's really looking at the final product at the end, where you realize that all this work you've put in over the time period has actually produced something good. I mean, just watching it again, we were texting to each other. I was like, "Oh, this is actually really good." It's really you forget sometimes you get so involved in the details and the getting people on, and all the persuasion and all the logistics and all the things that you have to do. It's really the end result that makes it all worthwhile.
Ari, on your side, because you may have many moments that were totally exciting. So just pick one or two.
Well, probably the most exciting, because it was the most close to death, was going over the Atlas Mountains in Morocco in the middle of a blizzard when everyone was wearing shorts and t-shirts, because down at the desert floor it was much warmer, but somehow we hit a blizzard at the top. That was the most kind of life-threatening. But look, we visited we visited a school that's rethinking education in Dubai. And we sat down with a bunch of kids ages kind of 12 to 14. And the way they're thinking about the future is so radically different than what we read in the headlines about the world falling apart. And this was in the middle of filming the show when everyone was tired. We were going from Japan to Morocco, back and forth around the world, and meeting the next generation who's just entering the age of AI and the age of kind of rapid climate change, but still seeing the optimism and the hope and the understanding that they now have tools to create change was by far the kind of the most empowering part of filming the show.
Vincent, same question for you, because you are receiving, I presume, each morning on your device new films, new documentaries. So what was maybe the most exciting moment when you have seen the first episode coming to you? What did you say to yourself?
Well,
because you made a decision. You decided that.
In fact, we discovered it, as I said, 3 years ago in Cannes during the MIP, the French market for documentaries. And so we just had a very quick version and teaser. But what was really great is that it's very original. I mean, we have never seen something like this before. It was clever. It was quite upmarket. It was low tech and high tech. It was quite enthusiastic. I was quite enthusiastic about this. So the decision was quite rapid. Well, the price was high, but it was quite a rapid decision.
Okay, cool.
And I want you to ask about, will you have a season 2?
Aha. Yeah.
So
Yes. Cool.
So yes, we've been thinking and planning for season 2. Part of it is, how do we make this original? Because if it's a season 2 where I'm just traveling around the world finding those best stories, we can do that, but we recognize that every kind of moment in time needs a different way of telling a story. And so as soon as we kind of figure out the exact way we want to do almost the sequel to this, I will be on a plane somewhere.
We have a good teaser today. Yes, season 2. Yes, question in the room, please.
Thank you. Hi, thank you. I'm Chiara from Paris. And you mentioned, Ari, and Vincent as well, that to reach a younger demographic, you need a different type of format, so shorter formats, distributed online, Vincent, you mentioned community first events. I was wondering, Catherine and Ari, if you are activating any such formats, if you're considering creating formats that are more kind of successful within a younger demographic. Not to say that the documentary format isn't successful, but just more targeted to a younger demographic.
Yeah, we are absolutely looking at lots of different things. So this is a a documentary series. We're also, as I mentioned, with Futurific in general, we have a series of graphic novels, and those are used as sort of storyboards. They can be used for film and TV, or they can be used for short stories or short videos online. And we are absolutely medium agnostic. I think whatever the story suits, whatever, is it something that suits a big screen, big budget, or is it something that suits rapid fire storytelling online? And we're open to all of it. Just depends on the story itself.
And yeah, I mean, look, we're looking at, like Catherine said, every format. One of the ideas is kind of even like augmented reality. So what does it mean to hold up your phone in the middle of Times Square and be able to see what Times Square would look like in 15 years if all of the buildings adopted clean climate technology and had trees on the roofs and vines growing down from them? So sometimes the format is both technology, but how you tell the story and how viewers and audience are able to participate in it. A docu-series, you kind of lean back and you take it in. We'll be doing this World's Fair in 2028 that you walk through. I think the key thing for us in the movement that we're doing, as well as for Publicis actually, is how we think about community. Because right now, more than ever, there's a kind of loneliness epidemic that I think in many ways is brought forth because of the technology, because of the phone that we all have in our pocket that allows us to live an algorithmically filtered life where we don't have to have any friction or we don't have to have stories that we don't like. And it's incumbent upon us, the storytellers, be it Catherine and myself or those of you in the room or online, to be able to tell stories that people want to see themselves in. They want to be a part of that story. And they want to be a part of that community. So in some ways, it's both the platform, but it's also the values underlying it. And a lot of what we're doing at Futurific is always going to be about kind of community first as the main vehicle to allow people then to take the content and the stories and bring it into their life.
Cool, very inspiring. Thank you.
Another question from the room? Yes, we have two.
Thank you. I was wondering if you have an episode dedicated to media, because we know it's a huge topic, disinformation and everything, and it can be also very inspiring to see all the different concrete examples around the world about this subject.
There is one dedicated to cinema, if I'm right, huh?
There is. So episode 3 is about storytelling and the futures of storytelling. And well, I'll just give it away. You know, we start off very early on about 200 feet below the surface in Spain in a cave that is one of the only caves in the world that has both Homo sapien and Neanderthal cave paintings side by side. So what that means is that the inhabitants of that cave over 40,000 years were telling stories. Now, it's not high definition 4K stories, right? A lot of the stories are about when are the animals coming through, or what we think were almost religious stories and stories about meaning. And to be honest, stories about identity. And throughout that episode, we show how and why storytelling matters. Because here's the thing, people don't learn through facts. No one has ever changed the world and how they're going to act purely based on a PowerPoint. We use stories to help us make sense of the world. And before there is I've talked about we need new institutions. Before there's an institution that is created, it's actually imagined in someone's head. Before there's a new technology, it's imagined in someone's head. I can tell you with some certainty, because I've been studying how humans actually create change. if we go back to 1926 and we go back to Marcel, the platform we on, but the founder of Publicis, who's living with his father, who's selling old furniture in northern Paris above a butcher's shop. Before he started Publicis, there was a story in his mind about what this could be and a vision. And obviously, it was a positive vision. Marcel wasn't thinking, how do I create something that immediately falls apart? It's how do I create something that's going to build and that's going to last? And so for us, it's always about telling these compelling stories about people building better futures. And from that, those futures that feel positive, that's what people want, because stories help us think about our identity and who we are. So the stories that we tell at Futurific, or the stories that are told by Publicis, again, are helping people think, gosh, how can I become that? I want that to be my identity, someone living in a better tomorrow.
This is a good analogy. Thank you very much. Thank you. Another question. Last one. And then we will wrap up.
First of all, thank you very much. It was very inspiring. Catherine, you very briefly mentioned AI. And I would like to know, what do you think the role of AI is in shaping the future that you describe? Is it an opportunity? Is it a threat? Maybe both?
Well, yes, I think it's both, and also that we have the opportunity to decide how we want to shape it, and it's very difficult to just say, no, I don't want this, and it has to go away. It's happening, and so the question then becomes, what do we want it to look like? How do we want AI to be in our world so that technology serves humans rather than humans serving technology? And I think so far we just haven't had the time, really. We haven't had the time or the sort of social and political systems in place that are strong enough to sit there and allow us to have these conversations where we actually get together and go, okay, what is it that we want, and how do we get there? There's a lot of protest, and there's a lot of anxiety, and there's a lot of some people are just saying it's just going to happen. But what we really need to do is say, how do we make this work for us? And then try to make shape the institutions and shape the guardrails so that we can get to that place.
Ari, do you want to say something about AI?
I mean, very similar to what Catherine is saying. It is a tool that is going to fundamentally shape humanity as much as fire and electricity did. And the question now is, what do we want it? How do we want it to shape us? And what are the questions that we have to ask? And what are we going to put at the center of it? I'm still human first. So to me, it's ensuring that we develop these technologies that center human flourishing more than the flourishing of the technology itself. And we're having that conversation. I don't think we're having it at a level politically and socially that we need to. And that's where storytellers come in to really start driving that, both in nonfiction and fiction. So I'm still hopeful that these tools we develop are going to help us, because more often than not, the tools have helped us. It's, 2 steps forward, 1 step backward. And I think it'll be the same with artificial intelligence, but it's incumbent upon us to help drive that conversation.
Vincent, on AI for you, how do you?
I couldn't say better. On our daily job, it makes few things, well, with no added value, we go faster. And on the documentary point of view, we start to broadcast documentary with a little bit of AI or a lot of AI. And once you just check that people do not have 6 fingers, you just have quite compelling documentaries. We will broadcast on Histoire TV within a few weeks a documentary about Vikings, all in AI.
Yeah.
And that's quite amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so before I will ask you all 3 the last question, I would like to thank people who were able to organize this session, because I know that it was a very intensive day for Publicis Paris today with La Positive this morning. That was a big session with international companies sharing their best practice, what they put in place, what is the future, how they are shifting the business model, how they are thinking about the future. So it was absolutely great. And you have a French futurist, Olivier Amand, talking about wording. What do we need? And it's super important for us in our activities, communication, advertising, tech, etc. So I think he raised many, many good points. So I would like to thank the team from Paris, the team CSR from Paris with Caroline, with Laurent especially, but many other people around you. Also from the group and MyPacific and our tech side, because we know that it's a bit challenging to have all of these rooms together. So thank you, everyone. Now, the last question, and really a few seconds to each of you. Okay, what are you expecting that people here today, and after having seen the 6th episode, what are you expecting that we can do? Catherine, I will start by you.
I think I go back to our original intent, which is that we hope that people feel a sense of agency, that they have, that instead of feeling hopeless or that the world's just coming at them too fast, that after watching this, they say, wow, there's so many amazing people doing so many amazing things, and maybe I could be one of them.
Cool. Ari?
Very similar. My hope is after watching this show, folks realize that they have the power within themselves and their organizations to become great ancestors for future generations, to recognize that their actions, both small and large, will have an impact that goes out not only decades, but hundreds of years. And that's both a responsibility and an honor.
Great. Responsibility is a key word. Vincent?
And that people should not be afraid of the future, and they can shape it with their choices, their ideas, their action.
Cool. This is great. And my last thanks is for Asif from Picture Motion, because it's one of our subsidiary, having all of these documentaries and access to that, to this knowledge. So big thanks, Asif, for this connection. Ladies, gentlemen, thank you very much for your participation.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you all for being with us today for the positive screening number 2. And we will tell you soon when we will have the positive screening number 3. And please, if possible, during your summer, organize a projection with people around you to see some of these episodes. Thank you very much, everyone. Ciao, ciao. Bye.
Thank you.